Max Verstappen has offered his thoughts on whether or not the team should be looking for a replacement for Lawson or focus on other things, as it seems like maybe the Austrian squad is in bigger trouble than we thought. After the poor first two races of the Kiwi driver, will Red Bull decide to call it quits on the long-awaited protégé that was supposed to be very close to Verstappen? And if so, will the Tsunoda promotion result in a greater overall result for the team? There is no doubt that the hottest topic in the Formula One world right now is the current situation in Red Bull, because if we're to look at how things stand, they are definitely not good for Liam Lawson. Having such poor results in both qualifying and the race, especially in China with 3 disqualifications where he still failed to score points, it's obvious that he's under a lot of threat, especially from Tsunoda. The Japanese driver is having a great season so far, at least if we're to look at the Saturday's performances, as the main reason why he isn't with a double-digit points already is the strategy of the team. Nevertheless, Verstappen set a very high benchmark because he's driving with a very sensitive car, one that he is extracting a lot of performance from, but it's still not enough to fight for race wins. What this means is that whoever is being put next to him will have a very troublesome time in adapting to the car, at least according to the words of the 4-time world champion. Elaborating further on this and giving an assessment on the car's behaviour under Liam's hands, Max said, "If you look at the difference between the two drivers at the other teams, they are all closer together. It also shows that our car is extremely tough. I think if you put Liam in the Racing Bull's car, he will go faster. I really think so. That car is easier to drive than ours. Last year, I didn't think the difference between him and Tsunoda was that big. Otherwise, the team wouldn't make the choice to put him in at Red Bull either." The situation is clear to understand. Verstappen knows what type of beast he needs to tame every time he goes out on the track, and he also knows that there aren't many drivers who are able to do so on the current grid. This is something that has been talked about by Horner as well, who went on to explain why the 4-time world champion, even with a lot of struggles, is still managing to get the maximum out of the car. Elaborating further on this, Horner said, "Max is quite specific in what he wants from a car to make it fast, and that is generally a very positive front end on the car, a very sharp turn-in. Of course, the consequence of that is it will unsettle the rear of the car, and that for a driver is tremendously sapping if you've got a loose rear end on this car on entry into corners. So that is where Max excels. That is where he is able to live on a knife's edge of adhesion." What is worth noting is that Verstappen is the one who is talking a lot of bad stuff about the car. So if you have such a tremendous talent like the 4-time world champion being so unhappy and insecure with the car, then you can understand why he feels like there won't be any improvement if another second driver is being brought into the team. F1 Insider also reported that Verstappen is not happy that the team is instantly looking to change Lawson rather than work on the car itself, which is something that he showed as a frustration back when Perez was struggling with the car as well. This goes to show that Verstappen is accepting the criticism from his teammates, and rather than pushing in a direction to try and solve these issues, the team is looking for a second driver who will miraculously start to perform out of the bat. Regarding Max's comment about Lawson being faster in Racing Bulls than Red Bull, which is also a warning for Tsunoda as well, Horner has gone on to defend the Kiwi driver despite his poor performance in the first 2 races. Elaborating further on this, the team principal of Red Bull said, "I think the Racing Bull is a more settled car in terms of it probably is a little more stable on entry. It probably has a bit more understeer in that car and therefore is easier to adapt to, but you can see the difference in pace in the cars on a longer stint. But I think in terms of finding the limit in a car that has inherent understeer, it's always going to be easier than finding the limit in a car that is a little bit more edgy." The car's behaviour is naturally asking for more time to adapt to, and if there is one driver who should know this, it's Yuki Tsunoda. Just because he is the leader to be promoted and get his seat swapped with Lawson, something that the F1 world feels should have been the natural development of events at the end of 2024, doesn't mean that both Tsunoda and Red Bull have found their peace. Obviously, the issue is very big because the team has a lot to learn about the car's performance, and with so many unknowns for Verstappen, it's very likely that Tsunoda will start to struggle with the car very early in the season. This This is why a swap in Japan might not be the smartest solution for the team. But on the other hand, to see Lawson struggle so much and fail to score results is also painful, not even reaching Q2 in arguably a car that belongs in the top 4 in the Constructors' Championship isn't what Lawson was brought in for in the first place. But if you were to ask the Kiwi driver, he would have quite a lot to say regarding whether or not Tsunoda is the one deserving of the seat in Red Bull. According to the New Zealander, the time has already run out on the Japanese colleague of his, and when addressing this matter, he said, "You can't feel sympathy in this sport, and anyway, if I look back over our career, I was teammates with him in F3 and I beat him. In Euro Formula, I was teammates with him in New Zealand and I beat him there. And then in F1 last season, I think honestly, if I look at all the times he got promoted instead of me in those early years, then no, he's had his time. Now it's my time." Interestingly enough, Marco has now raised the interest in Isaac Hadjar after saying that his crying act in Melbourne was embarrassing. This goes to show that things in racing bulls are all but certain, and when talking about the chances of seeing the Frenchman line up next to Max in the following period, as well as his overall improvement after the blunder in Australia, Marco said, "Let's look at the positive. Isaac Hadjar, who has never driven on this track before, is setting incredible times in his second race, making no mistakes. Yuki is right behind him, but Yuki is in his 5th season while Isaac is completely new, and then he sets such a time. So far, what he has shown is absolutely fascinating. In Australia, his performance was also sensational until the accident. It's happened to others. The sun and the shadow are close together and we'll see what happens." The comments are made right after Tsunoda said that he is 100% ready to take over the seat in Japan in a press conference after the Chinese GP. After his statement, he was pulled aside by a PR person from the Italian-based squad, which goes to show that there is a very delicate situation that needs to be solved behind closed doors. But again, Tsunoda being promoted to Red Bull is all but a solution for both of the sides, because the fact that he's performing well in racing bulls doesn't automatically mean he will be a good choice for the Austrian squad as well. If we are to remember correctly, Lawson did score points in Singapore in 2023 in a quite difficult race, but this is a sport with short memory. Last year, he scored points in Austin because of the disqualifications of Leclerc and Hamilton in a much more inferior car. And this year, even with Gasly being disqualified, apart from the Ferrari duo, the Kiwi driver was still left without points. This goes to show that a massive gap needs to be filled, and whether or not Tsunoda has the tools to do so, time will tell. But the time is running out on Tsunoda as well. We do know that the team is not willing to keep him for a long period of time if he doesn't get the Red Bull promotion. This has been said by Horner, and although he didn't hope for such a poor debut of Lawson, the situation is loud and clear. Either Tsunoda gets an opportunity with the Austrian team, or they would have to say goodbye and promote another youngster. And with Arvin Lindblad waiting in the sidelines, it would be very much expected for Racing Bulls to make way and explore his potential, even though the driver's situation in the Italian-based squad is always varying and surprises are always present. With all this in mind, do you think that there is an opportunity for Tsunoda to ruin his career if he's being promoted to Red Bull? And more importantly, do you think he would be much better at staying in Racing Bulls and proving to Cadillac that he can be a leader in the team if everything goes to plan with their project? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.